Do you want to run E30, E40, or full E85 with the BMW TU pump? This is how you go about installing it on my 740 Xi. So the first thing you want to do on any other good BMW project, you're going to want to disconnect your battery in the trunk. Before starting on this project, there is your old pump and here is the new pump. And you can tell with the difference, the old one has the dimple on top and the new one is smooth brained. So that way all the good old ethanol can go through this without topping out your old high pressure fuel pump. So we can safely run E40, E30, and full E85 on this TU. So let's get that changed out. You're gonna want to get all these lines disconnected, and then we're gonna put some rags underneath to catch all the fuel that comes out of this, because it will have a little bit of fuel that squirts out of this. And I believe these are 17 millimeters. And you're going to want to disconnect this plug here so that way you can get this out. Now that we got the rags in there to catch the fuel, we're going to go ahead and use our 17 to crack these loose. Once you get everything loose, everything should be able to move around. Also, to access the back lines on the 3 Series, 4 Series, and possibly the 5 Series, you're going to have to remove the cow hood and all that trim to reset the back. But on my 740, I didn't have to. There's plenty of space for me to access that. So let's go ahead and get those cracked loose. Now that I got all the fuel lines out of the way and disconnected this to get this fuel line off, and I disconnected the fuel pump itself, the sensors right there is fairly simple to take off. It's just a little tab that you have to pull out of the way. Now that I got all these lines disconnected, we're going to go ahead and use a T30 to remove both of these bolts and evenly back and forth alternate taking it off. I just have an extension here with a ratchet, and we're going to go ahead and get that taken off so we can get the sensor oriented the right way, because that's what it's supposed to be, and the new one's pointed the other way. So I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. We got the old pump here on the left and the new one here on the right, the TU. So we're gonna orient this to the 9 o'clock position like the old one, because the new one is pointed to the 3 o'clock position. So let's get that swapped over. There's a little spot there. You're gonna use a flathead screwdriver and pop that up, and I should be able to get it to the left. So now that I got that popped up, I just use a little flathead pocket pry bar, and we're going to try to match it up to that one there, and then press it back on. It should sit flush, and then we'll throw it back into the car. Now that we have it oriented the correct way, we're going to install the pump back on. Just start the bolts finger tight on both sides, and now we're going to evenly torque them down to both sides. There isn't really a torque spec that I could find, so just snug. Don't go too snug or you might snap or strip a bolt. It is a T30, so keep that in mind. I did find the torque spec for those T30s. They are 8 pounds each on each side until they're even. So just keep that in mind. It does not take a lot of pressure to torque those down. Now that I got all the lines connected back up, we're gonna go ahead and tighten them down. You want to start them finger tight. If you feel any resistance, just stop what you're doing, try to readjust. You don't want to strip any of these out. So let's get those tightened down with the 17 millimeter. All right, I got that pump back installed. I got the sensor connected. I got both of my sensors connected back up for my coil packs and all the lines on without stripping them out. They're kind of a pain. I like to leave everything loose and then tighten it as I go. If you feel anything have too much resistance, that's your sign to back off and not strip anything out. So let's get this engine cover back on the car. And let's go fill this thing up to E40, and I'll show you how to do that. The car now definitely feels like it has a lot more power to her, and the E40 really woke this 740 up.